What is going on? What is going on, people? It's Community Beacon. We're back in the place to be. enjoying this space, enjoying life, grateful. I'm one of your hosts, Michael Seville, Palm Beach Mike on all platforms. I think it's the real Palm Beach Mike on Instagram. And of course, on the other side of the screen, we got my brother from another mother, the Joe Simmons. Before Joe, can you hear Paul jumping on the trampoline or no? Okay, good. I'm making sure.
You know what? But if Paul hadn't somehow found his way into this conversation, I think I would have been disappointed.
Oh yeah.
Because it seems like Paul finds a way to get inside of every other show, and I think I was missing him already.
Oh. He's there. He's on that trip. I hear him. Hey, but tell the people, man, what's going on, brother? What's happening?
Yeah, just in reference to Paul, we were just recording maybe about an hour ago, preparing for a workshop that we're doing. And the gentleman I was talking with, Garrett Forsythe, will be doing this know yourself to grow yourself workshop coming up in about a month. And we got into this conversation. He started asking about you, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you're very insightful, and he just loves the way you kind of move in this world. And I was telling him, he was asking about the community beacon as well. And I was telling him, yeah, man, it's funny. Paul seems to jump in almost every other show. I don't know how we got onto this conversation about young people, but we did. And it was young people, Mike, and the community beacon. And I was just like, man, I just love it because I think I was telling him about how uh, a lot of people comment about how the content that we deliver is very real. And we just had this conversation in the behind the stage, and a lot of people comment about that. And I guess the reason is because it is very real. It's very fluid. Sometimes we come here and we have these thoughts that we really want to deliver on, and sometimes we come here and it's like, hey man, just turn the cameras on. And I don't know that anybody is really doing that in the field today after 5 years. So what you end up getting is this very raw feeling of people, two guys talking with each other, with obvious respect and love for one another. But you find that our conversations are just, they are what they are, so to speak. And so I know that this may not have been the direction that we were going in, but it feels like maybe this is the direction that we're going in. The authenticity of the conversation was what we were looking to achieve from the very beginning. And so maybe with that being said, you asked me how am I doing, what's going on in my life. I'm doing well. The OLAB is here. We're doing well. We've got a lot of programs and events set up. So y'all come on out and see us in North Palm Beach. And if you want to figure out how to get to us, just look up theopportunitylab.com. But I'm happy about life. I'm very filled. Last night I had a beautiful time in service with the young people and watching them grow and the aha moments just happening was it's one of the things that I live for, one of the things why I do what I do. So that's where I am right now in this space and time. And this is my thought that maybe we could also discuss. And so I want to throw it back into your direction. How are you doing and what's going on in your world?
Yeah, that's good. That's good stuff, man. Conversations are very real. We right behind the stage. Joe laxed. He said, yeah, someone just reached out and said, man, it sounds like you and Mike have real conversation. I was like, do we ever lie? Like, you know, um, so Yeah, definitely having some great conversations here on the Community Beacon. That's essentially what that was one of my big things when we started this was like, man, we are just coming on here and I don't necessarily have to have it, or we don't have to have it all worked out before we get on here to where it's just like, yeah, we know, and this is exactly how it is. Sometimes we get on here and it's like, whew, you know, it was, this week was a doozy, right? Like I thought I had this thing figured out, and then something threw me for a loop. This week we observed Memorial Day. So every Memorial Day, it's been a tradition for myself. And if you can hear Paul, just let me know, because you hear him now. Let me see if I close the door. That'll be good. If he does, you all forgive me. I'm a present father, and I actually enjoy listening to him in the background, enjoying himself. So every year for Memorial Day, what we do is Chris invites me to his gym. They have a gym in West Palm, and we do the Murph, which is
Oh, I think I saw the a post.
where a group of us, women and men. So last year there was more women. This year, I don't know if we ran them out last year, but or not us. Excuse me. There's enough torture to go around when you're doing this Murph, where it's a 20-pound weight. You run a mile, then you got to do 300 squats, 200 push-ups, and 100 pull-ups, and then you have to finish it off by running the mile. Last year, I was super prepared. I mean, I went in there and it was all about business. Like I was gonna get through it, and it was gonna as easy as it can be, right? I don't think it's ever like super easy, because if it is, then you're probably not pushing yourself. But even if you're not pushing yourself, there's a point where you just kind of look up at the sky and say, like, what am I doing? You know what I mean? Like this might be one of the crazier things that we do. So last year I was super prepared. This year, not so much. This year, we started off, and I started off with a joke. I said, I'm gonna pull up on the rear just in case anybody need help. If anybody passes out, I'll be the safety. And man, this year didn't disappoint. Now, what contrasted between last year and this year was like the presence of it, because it wasn't just last year was like just getting through, and how fast can I get through, and I'm not even paying attention to a lot of this stuff. This year, I think I paid attention to everything. I mean, on the first run, the wind whipping across the face, just grateful for the weather. I'm like, man, it's May, what was it, May 20, whatever it was, and it's not hot. The wind is whipping across. People are moving. Like the whole experience, like just to be present in it. The pain was there. I ran through the 300 squats, the air squats, and then I got to the pull-ups, and I was like, which I thought was going to be a breeze. And then I said, wait a minute, I'm feeling it. But it was still just the experience of it. And everyone just cheering each other on, like, man, come on, you got it. We looking at each other. I remember Chris looked up. He's like, I think I'm going to throw up. I was like, man, just have at it. You got a whole park to go to. I seen another guy, but it was just the camaraderie. Everyone was just excited. Finished it. The push-ups, which I thought again was going to be a breeze, and that sure surprised me when I hit about, got to about 120. I was like, man, I don't know. Like, when you start doing push-ups and you just want to move your head, you don't want to move the rest of your body, because my arms felt like they were going to fall off, but everyone's pushing me like, come on, you got it. Jumped up, and then that last run, which is normally like torture, because it's like, man, you did all these squats, you did the pull-ups, you did the push-ups, you already ran a mile, and now you have this last mile to run. But wow, that last mile was just, I was just in so much awe. on that last mile, just being able to experience that and just even knowing that I'm capable of doing this, right? Like, and even and at the, at the just what I'm just the ability to it. And you mentioned something earlier about being, I think you say grateful. And if you didn't, forgive me, I don't want to put words in your mouth. But then there just came over this overwhelmingly gratefulness about this entire thing, where I just grateful for the sake of being grateful. At one point it was just, man, I'm just grateful for this. I'm grateful for, like, you can't even, I couldn't even pick out what I was grateful for. It was just like, just to be in this moment of gratefulness, and finished it up. And of course, by that time, the wives came, the kids showed up. There was a couple of kids that showed up, and there was this huge barbecue, and everyone's just, no phones out, no, no, everyone is just with each other, right? And these are, these are titans of business that go to this gym and were invited for this occasion. I mean, guys who are doing, but no, I mean, and of course we talk business just because business happens. Like, wait, what do you do? Like, what do you have going on? I have this project, I got this happening, and this and this. But more so is more so just of this just enjoyment of each other, with no nothing. It was such a great feeling. And man, I was sore for about 3 days.
So you're just now feeling better.
I woke up on Tuesday and I said, and
Yeah, I was there.
so me
What
and
would you
Paul,
say? You're like, yeah, it
yeah,
happened.
Tuesday, I've been in the pool more times this week than I was all last year. Of course, Paul went in the pool, and he has this thing where just to keep, he just throw me, throw me, throw me, throw me. So that was a light recovery day. Wednesday, I was back in the gym, super sore, legs very, very sore, quads especially, some joint pains. I didn't bengay some joint pains, but still had a good workout. And of course, today I'm really back to normal. I was even able to, really, really turn it up another notch. And I noticed as well, like the Murph kind of sets the trend for me where, um, like now, like for whatever reason, something turns on, and I just become super fitness oriented. Like after this point, so every occasion at the gym, and I can tell, like I can look at my, just by my Apple Watch. Like I'm like, whoa, I've burned this, burned this many
Mm,
calories. So last week I probably would have burned 400 or 500 for the session. This week it says 900 for the session, and it feels different, and I'm sweating more. So it just something in my body or in my mind or whatever it is, just kind of turns on for me for this as we enter this period, which is the summer. Super, and I expect a pretty busy summer, both on the business side and on the fitness side. I'm excited, man.
mm,
I'm super excited, super grateful too.
mm. Yeah, that's real good. That's real good. Yeah, I did use the word grateful,
Okay.
grateful and thankful, and so it's resounding, right? Hearing your story though, and I think that last year you kind of told us all. Like I want to say it was last year. You kind of told us all that this thing was coming up with you and Chris, and you were like in preparation. You were doing X amount of whatever exercises at the gym because you were really like preparing yourself to, dominate when you got there. And so I didn't realize that it was really coming up now. I didn't even
Mm.
put those two together. I don't know if this is something you do um, biannually or once a year, but I don't know because it feels like it was almost like 6 months ago when you were doing this before. But maybe my timeline, my time frame is all.
Now well, I have two things I do each year. So it's the Murph, which is May, the end of May, for Memorial Day, and then of course on our birthdays, because Chris and I are born on the same day, we do deadlifts. So we do whatever our age is, you know, reps, 315. So yeah, so every year that's like the two things like you know they're coming up, so
That's what it
be
was.
ready. Yeah, yeah.
That's what it was. Because
Mm-hmm.
you were working out in the gym quite frequently, preparing for those deadlifts. So I'm listening to this, and it's just it, what a great story of accomplishment. The part that I suppose that I drew out of it that I kind of ate up was not that you weren't ready, but that you kind of stepped into the arena and you went all in with what you had. And whether that means you did some practicing, some preparation, or you just came in with the normal preparation that you have of your everyday lifestyle, it kind of felt like you stepped into the arena with, hey, this is what I got, you know, almost like I'm a action type of movie type of guy, kung fu, all this type of stuff. I love those things. I love seeing espionage and spies and the quick thoughts and how people respond when things are not prepped for them, kind of like the modern day James Bond run through the city type of movie. And I hear the same type of thing with you. It's like, you know, you've been preparing for such a long time. So I don't know if it's a new preparation, but whatever it was, you just stepped in that arena. And when you stepped in that arena, it's like you recognize that there were challenges there, and those challenges were pushing you. But because you have cultivated such a beautiful circle of individuals who all cheer for you and not against you, who all lift you up and not push you down, who bring positive energy in a negative, if you will. I'm not going to call the environment negative, but the situation is a painful struggle, challenge, whichever word you want to insert. They bring positivity to it. And instead of saying, no, 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 you can't, they're like, yes, 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 you can in a way that's not like I'm going to make you do it, but I believe that you can. I know that you can. And so there's like this drive in this type of community that you've developed. And hearing this story, it just reminds me so much of being grateful, right? Being grateful of the things that we curate. And one of the greatest things, and I don't know, I won't put words in your mouth, but one of the things that may be the reason for inability to state exactly what you were grateful for, maybe because you curated the entire thing, the entire life, the entire thought process, every single person inside and outside, your alignment with how you serve God, everything, how you ground, everything. You've been working on it for such a long time that maybe there isn't a specific thing to be grateful for. Maybe it is a package deal. And when I heard that, it's like, I agree. Like, I align with that. Like, I'm one with that, you know, because my challenge is not necessarily the same challenge as yours today, but the challenge that I have, like, man, I'm grateful.
Mm.
The people that are around me, I'm grateful. And as I came into this particular setting, as you were clicking the live button, I couldn't help but to think about how grateful I am for this relationship. And I was just, I'm not going to say I got lost in it, but I sat in it. Like I wasn't so much concerned about when the camera went on, who's looking, or if there's somebody out there watching. It was just for one brief moment, this thought traveled through my mind. And instead of letting it travel, I reached up and I grabbed that thought and I just held it
Mm.
for
That's big.
Yeah, man. I'm glad to be here with you. Very grateful.
Yeah, wow, and likewise, brother. I'm gonna tell you what, because you mentioned like even the people who were cheering us on. It was interesting. I had a conversation with a cousin today. He said one of the man. I got the chills when he said it. Now it may sound bad, but I enjoy. It was a compliment that he was playing. He was giving me, which was he said we were talking, and then it came to a point where I had to explain to him something like essentially like kind of like a boundary, right? And we've been discussing boundaries for the past 6 months or so about love and boundaries, so on and so forth. And he stopped. He said, and he was like, you know what? I'm not even going to take it any further than that. He said because he said this is what he said. He said I hear you. And I'm like, oh, I mean, and this is what we kind of spoke about last week about people like actually seeing and feeling and hearing you and just the presence of it. And he said, you know what he said I'm gonna put words in his mouth because this is what I heard. He's like, you know what I love about you? I was like, what's that? He says, no matter how I'm feeling or what's going on, he says, you make it okay for me to you make it okay for a person to be selfish. That's what he said, right? And I want to break it down because it could sound bad, like when you hear somebody say it, but who knows what kind of the words that a person has, like or the capacity and or a lot of us the way to describe things. We all don't have the gift that Joe has when he describes when we describe things. But what I heard and what I felt more so than what the words that came out was like, you make it okay for me not to abandon myself. Like you make it okay. That's what I heard. And so I grasped onto that, the feeling of that. And I said, and I told him, I said, now jokingly, I said, you know what my phrase is. And he said, what's your phrase? I said, if I'm not okay, nothing's okay. Right? Meaning that the way that I go into something, if I'm not okay at my core, like everything could break down. You can have the nicest people and you could lash out. Like people are like, are you okay? And you say, stop asking me if I'm okay. You know what I mean? Like don't ask me that. And this person could be as nurturing as possible. But the way that we relate to the words because of what we have going on. I remember my mother passed, right? Someone asked me, they said, are you okay? It was a nurturing, just asking me if I was okay. But this is maybe a couple of days after. And I looked at the person because I'm not okay. I was like, my mother just passed. Like in my mind, it was like the dumbest question in the world, but regardless of the intent of the person. The intent of the person was like, Michael, are you okay? Is everything fine? But because I'm not okay at the time or the grieving process or sadness or whatever it was, I don't care what the intent was because I'm not okay. And I really want you to understand that. So I want to bring it back to that Murph thing, like, because I'm so okay and I'm so grateful, it could have been a super competition. It could have been Marine Corps, they're yelling at you like, you're going to get a civil, you might as well just quit civil or something. And because I am the way that I am, right, how I am, I'm in that moment, that's going to motivate me. It's almost like there's nothing that a person could do in that moment because of the way that I'm holding this thing, right? The gratefulness. When I'm grateful. Someone could have, threw a water balloon at me while I was running, right? And because I'm so grateful, I'm just, hey, thank you, man. You must have saw that I needed some I needed some water. Like, you know what I mean? Like you must have saw that I was overheating or something. Like that's the reason why you threw that water balloon, right? But if I'm feeling a different kind of way and someone throws a water balloon, it's, oh, who did that? Like, well, you know what I mean? So we can make all these things out. But when you just the relationship to the thing, and then you mentioned something else, brother, which was like the cultivation of the environment. That's so powerful. Like what, like, and the thing, and we speak about this all the time. you're cultivating something, right? Like maybe it's either the environment is molding you or you're molding the environment. Like you're leaving it's being left up to chance is what I mean by it. So the more that you become aware of this environment, the more that you could start to put into to cultivate it to what it is, and not from a place of I'm better than somebody, and or this person is just whatever it is, like not even in that kind of sense of it. It's just like, okay, I'm really, this is a priority for me right now. Like this whatever energy is coming off, or when I leave this person, the energy that's happening, like, man, I think I need more of that. Like man, maybe I need to go into this office more. Maybe I need to see this person more. Right? Maybe I need to find ways to make myself valuable to this person, or not even valuable, because I'm sure I don't think in that kind of terms, but like how can we exchange energies to where it's like we're both improving this environment, making it better. When the brother comes on here, it's like, how can we, like iron sharpening iron. Like I don't even know where it's gonna go at certain times, but man, it's just this feeding of this positivity. If I can be present in this moment, and I'm gonna cultivate it, and I mean, listen, guys. I mean, I don't think we can stress the amount of, that, how much we're here every Friday, right? And we can probably count a handful of times a year that we miss. And it's not for lack of not having things to do, right? It's not of lack of not having enough rest, because I'm sure the brother could rest right now. You know what I mean? Like it could be 30 to 45 minutes of prayer. It could be 35 minutes of meditation. It could be 30 to 45 minutes of a power nap. Like there's so many things that can occur, or gathering oneself, right? Like which I think we should all do all of these things. Find time. Find time. You can't find time to do that, then find more time for it. Right? Like figure those things out to replenish yourself and have a standard.
That was a good exclamation point. That was real good. That was real good. Have a standard. The cultivation that I pick up in what you've done, and what I've done, and for ourselves. I'd like to share this with the audience, and it has so much to do with standards. And I love the statement, selfish. I think you said it was your cousin saying you allow for me, or you make the environment conducive of me being okay, being selfish. It's like, whew, that's that's a gem. Can somebody write that down somewhere? Like whenever you see this, can you put that inside of the chat and say, what does that mean to you? I don't care what platform you're on. I'm not really sure what platforms we stream to right now. But wherever this thing is at, can you put that down? Because being selfish is one of those written rules that most children were taught not to do. It's like I got a toy, somebody else wants to play with my toy, and I'm told I need to share. And it's like it's repeated throughout life. That's a narrative that is burned, engraved into the minds of so many, in the sense that I know that I have done that. When my eldest daughter was at her youngest, I wanted to make sure she was sharing, as if there's not as if there's something wrong with her just desiring to have something for herself.
Mm. Mm.
And there's nothing wrong with the individual desiring to have something for themselves. This is a non-scientific or psychological example or explanation. This is just one brother talking with another brother in front of an audience. But the thought process is what happens when you get older and you don't know how to self-care, to self-love, to self-administrate. The trouble with alignment becomes there's a huge trouble with alignment because before you can align with your own principles, with your own morals, with your own standards, you have to first take care of her or him or them or they. Is there time left for you to know who you are?
Mm.
How do you get to the point where you know who you are, where you are walking where you are walking in what you walk in? And so now we talked about cliches and how we were going to, dive into cliches at one point in time. I know this was a big thing. Mike's going to talk about it one day, and it's going to come down, y'all. Y'all better tape that episode. But just basing this conversation that we're having right now, right, on the thought process that as we are groomed, as we grow, many people are taught that they need to share before they need to self-love,
Mm.
right? I'm talking about 2-year-old, 3-year-old. We are taught that we need to share first, right? Before self-love. What about when we get older and as an adult, we begin to share our thoughts, share our opinion, share information, because that's what we're taught to do. And one of the first things that somebody may say if they are in disagreement or disalignment with whatever it is we say is sweep around your own front patio before you sweep around mine. It's the anti-statement of what we've been taught to do. And what we've been taught to do, the grander spectrum of things. I'm sure there's someone who was not taught this, right? But we don't even know that we've been taught to do it because that narrative is so deep inside of the book of our life. We wouldn't even know how to pull it out if we did not become selfish and study. There's a scripture, Timothy, 2 Timothy 2:15, study to show thyself approved unto God, rightly dividing the word of truth. If we didn't study ourselves to show ourselves approved, if we didn't even take that time to do that, to EQ, emotional intelligence, something that seems like it should have been around forever, but it's been hid in the darkness only of late, the last decade or so, has it been something that has really pushed. Like, you need to have EQ. But before that, EQ was talked about in the darkness. No, there's no room for EQ. You don't really need to have it. People were studying it, but nobody wanted to jump on the bandwagon. Nobody really wanted to push it up. You had certain individuals who were taking it to the next level, and they were speaking about it on all different places and platforms. And people that heard them and believed them were benefited because they began to become change agents in the entire field of humanity. But nonetheless, the train was moving so slow that it still took another decade or a decade and a half before it became something that entered into the corporate world and was spoken about on the news and was broadcasted. There were some people that used advantage of it, right? They took it and they used it against people because they understood the study. So that narrative still pops up. And it's like when a man can leave the room for another man to be selfish enough to care for himself, I believe it leaves room also for both men to grow at that very moment. Both grow. And not only that, but I have found that where there is growth, it charges it charges the environment with growth. It's a growing energy. If one plant is planted next to the other and they both are growing, sometimes germination will happen and they will force each other to grow together. It's a powerful concept that I can grow just by being in the environment of somebody else. So I want to leave that alone for a moment and mention this because, brother, you said how often we are here. And I love that you said that because it's good for people to know that despite circumstances or life or, error or whatever, we have over 5 years done what I consider to be our very best. And if there is any other thing better, then what is that? How am I going to look back on my past and say it's something better? Because my past brought me to today, and today is pretty doggone good. So why would I downgrade my past? So we did our very best to be here, but I would really like for the people to take this piece away that when we got here, we were actually here. And that speaks to what you said earlier, present, being present. We get into these conversations and the rest of the world goes to sleep. And I believe that is the reason why these conversations run deep. It's because we take the time to actually hear one another, to learn from each other, to share what we've learned. Mm. And this has become our standard.
Yeah, that's good, man. That's good. The EQ, the soft skills. eh, We all have them. Are you working on them? They're skills. Like this is like all this is skill. Do you want to? You know, like and if you don't, then and that's fine as well. A lot of us are fine with where we are. I'm talking to the people who are saying, "Man, I know there's something else. There's something more." There sure is, and and you can start to cultivate your way to getting there. You spoke about sweeping your front door. Take care of yourself, man. Take care of yourself. There's enough people out here, not by any sometimes not even consciously aware that they're gonna use you.
Mm.
They will find ways. I think last week I spoke about some that I definitely want to talk about, which is sign language, which I believe my contribution to that conversation or that term is that we do it to ourselves just as much as other people will do it to us. As a matter of fact, the reason why they can do it to us is because how much we do it to ourselves. Like, like you got to allow people to do it to you, right? So it's almost like it's the protection of it's part of the protection of your identity. Um, so one of the the first the S going in for shame. You know what I mean? Like people will shame you from being what they call selfish. I call it self-centered. Like whatever word makes you feel better about it, about you not abandoning yourself and taking what you have into consideration. It doesn't mean that you don't help people. It doesn't mean that you don't support people. It doesn't mean that sometimes you like, you know what, something is going on. I need to get down there for somebody, right? Like if someone says, "Oh man, my tire, something happened with my tire," and you have the ability, or and you might not have enough, in your mind. You're like, man, I just wanted to go home to go rest. I need that rest. But you just, in when something happens, then yeah, you can go and help somebody out or support somebody in that kind of way, because these aren't things that happen all the time, right? Well, I'm not talking about these extreme cases or circumstances when you get a chance to use your other tools of willpower, discipline, whatever it is. But for overall, I'm talking about like overall, 80% of the time, you got to really make sure that you're okay. You have to be in alignment. I got something up here, which is one of my principles is check the temperature. And one of them is like, check your physical, your emotional, and your mental state. Like what's present for me right now in all of these things. Some of us our nervous systems are awkward. For some of us, like whatever it is. So check all that. Am I empty? Am I running on empty? And then someone saying, "Oh, well, I need you to do this and I need you to do that." And this is just something like they don't know that. You have to let somebody know that, hey, listen, I can come through, but it's going to be 20 minutes, or I can't even come through today. It's just, I don't have the capacity. Right. I say, it's not that I don't have the interest in doing it. I think for the most part, especially people that we love or that we're in close relationship or proximity to, we do want to support and serve them in some kind of capacity, in some kind of way. But do I have the capacity to do it? And if I do go and do it, like, am I doing it? There's a be a cheerful giver, right? Am I going to be a cheerful giver, or am I going to be sitting there? Is it going to start building up some kind of resentment? Now I got to deal with that later on, where I'm just resenting somebody. Oh, this person's always asking me for something, and that. You cultivated that. I'm gonna tell you something. And I'll leave it with this. I thought it was interesting. Someone called me today, and the conversation was about my mother, which I appreciated. Like, all right. So one of the things that they mentioned was, towards the end, they saw a situation where certain people just weren't in their minds, right? This is years later. My mother passed in 2020. And so this is about 6 years now. So they said, man, I hesitated to call you. And they said, but man, look, you just called me. And I said, yeah. It was like, yeah, that's how it works. I said, okay, what's going on? And he said, man, I remember when your mother was going through it, and, I was looking at it and I was just like, where's the support coming from? Or, so on and so forth. Like, what kind of support? I said, well, I mentioned you, Joe. I said, Joe was there. Joe supported. Beethoven supported. My dad was there. Whatever. I'm not in my mind. At the time, maybe I could have got upset about certain things. I said, but where I'm at right now, I can't even really think about that doesn't even register to me anymore, because I'm so blessed about this. As a matter of fact, I told a brother, I said, listen, I love you, because for you to wake up 6 years later and be thinking about me like that, like, I'm so grateful for somebody like you to take that into you, take that way of you. And so I appreciate that. I said the way my mother was, and I want people to be super aware about how we cultivate our lives, is like, my mother was very self-reliant. So she cultivated a space where she didn't really ask people for anything, right? It was just more so of her giving and her supporting people. People would come to her, so she became this thing. And that's what served her. Like, this is not an indictment on my mother and how she ran her life. That's how she did it. I said, so that's how so when I think about the way that she was in life and how she cultivated her life, I could see that same thing. right? Like, and so my question is like, what were your expectations? Because this is not, it is about me and my mother, but it's also something about you that is triggering within you. I'm saying, so what are you expecting from people, right? And or these unspoken expectations to, at that, as far as like, what do you, what, because you're expecting that because somebody may expect it from you. It's a deeper conversation in it, but I'm getting to, I just want to stay on the point of this cultivating. Like, how do you, like, what are you cultivating right now? Because whatever happens later on, all we have to blame is ourselves for it. Are you cultivating where you don't need support or you don't need help? You can't ask for a favor. You can't, because maybe you don't want to be rejected, or maybe you don't want to come off as being needy, whatever it is. Like, or are you emptying out, is your tank already empty and you're running on fumes so that you could present a certain kind of way, right? So I'm not saying you just, we all get a chance to kind of sit with that and see how it's serving us in the part of whether it's selfish, because we can think of this selfishness, to your point, brother, like it's ingrained in us, like you know. And I think we should teach our kids how to share. I'm not saying you don't teach your kids not to share, like and I know the brother's not saying that either, but there's certain things that child should have to themselves at times. Like, that's, hey, listen, he shared they're totally open to sharing this Oreo cookie, but this thing, they have some type of, it's theirs, right? So they're not sharing this thing. That's their thing. And it's okay for him to have that thing. There's definitely discernment between it. And I think that's what some of us, as we grow older, we start to learn the discernment piece. Some of us, we never even get a chance to kind of figure that piece out. So we're just living off of somebody else's, you know, in this thing of this shame, which we're doing to ourselves, this shame, the guilt of it, right? Of not providing or whatever, whatever it is to do, what it might be. So it's man, out of all this, and because I'll leave it at this, is the ability to appreciate how we got to where we are now, how it was cultivated, our parents, our grandparents, our circle, our community, like everything that we've had before, like to be able to be grateful for that and say, and because you got to and it is like, and because of that experience, this is me, I get to choose now what's in alignment with whatever it is that I have going on, and I, it can get even spiritual at that point in time, of because of my relationship with that. Like, what's in my alignment? Am I doing what it is I'm supposed to be doing? Because maybe I'm not doing it. I'm doing something for you, and I have another assignment, so to speak. Let me ask you a question, brother. You ever had a supervisor that was so busy worried about your assignment that they probably weren't doing their assignment? Like, they were so concerned about what you had going on, or what what you was doing with your assignment. Not to say, but they weren't getting their thing done. They were just too concerned about yours. Sometimes we can do that to ourselves. Oh, he jumped in. Yeah, man.
That's real good. Mm. Actually, one person did come to my mind. I won't share that right now.
Yeah, we don't gotta say the name. You get to reminisce on it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know we're getting ready to close out, and I don't know if this is going to come up again, but I'm going to share this piece anyway. I'm not going to share all of it. Maybe Mike and I will talk about it some more at another time. Maybe I will talk about it some more inside of the community beacon. I'm not sure. But that touched me in a heavy way. And I'm in a very, very vulnerable stage,
Mm.
right? In the process that I'm in, it's a very, very vulnerable place. And I'm working with that vulnerability. Like I'm not pushing against it. It's necessary. So as you were talking about cultivating, like we have this whole conversation about cultivating, we can go back and forth. And I think that this may land for some other people if they think about this. It's not always about the larger conversation. Sometimes it's about the very specifics of a conversation that changes the direction of the conversation. Trigger points, cues, places of relation, right? These types of things change the process of the direction the conversation is going. And so when you started talking about cultivating and like what are you cultivating, you started to give off these different types of examples. And one of those examples just like it like touched me. The type of person, and this is all based off of what I began to say in the very beginning. So that's the interesting part about how life can be cyclical, which means that maybe this is meant for me to hear, or maybe it's meant for me to talk about. But the whole fact that you started to talk about that and you just like uncovered it as far as, what are you cultivating, that you can ask for something, that you can't ask for something. Like I have built up a system that I am in now in this day where I don't fancy myself to ask for something. And so the stage that I'm in, it's a very challenging one. Like I've stretched myself to the furthest extent that I can stretch myself in the history of my lifetime. Like I'm there in that space right now, right? And so I recall having a conversation with a very good friend of mine. And we were having this conversation, and when we were having this conversation, I said to him, and this was almost in defense. And I'll give you the essence of the conversation. The essence of the conversation is I can't deal with your feelings right now because right now I've stretched myself beyond my measure, at least beyond my capacity as I know. And I'm not putting that on you. I'm not trying to take it away from the scenario. I'm not trying to say that I'm stuck in it. I'm not trying to claim it as my downfall. But what I'm saying is I am in this place right here, and there's nothing else that I can do with anything else out there. So if you can hear what I'm saying, then hear what I'm saying. This has nothing to do with you. It's got nothing to do with you. And that is the essence of what I was saying. Now, whether it came out that way or whether it was received that way, time will tell, or maybe a conversation at a time when the trying of my capacity is at its fulfillment, right? But this thing was heavy that you just said because it's heavy because it's me, right? This is me, y'all. I ain't trying to, there's no smoke and mirrors right here. This is me. This is my test. It's my test for today. And every single day I go through this test because there are certain parameters, certain KPIs I need to hit. I don't always hit them. Some of them are very heavy. I don't hit those. And at the same time, it's like I stay grateful, I stay thankful, I stay very present with understanding the things that need to be done, the performance that I need to measure, whether I'm doing it, when I do and when I don't, analyzing those things, making corrections, and then realizing some days I still don't hit it. Some days I get close to it. And then the thought process. Are you in your flow? So, like, this was a heavy, heavy thing because this is a thought that's going through my own mind. Now, you can talk about not declarations. I love declarations. What's the other one called? Starts with an A. Declarations. People, they always say this. Say, I want to state this about myself. I like to use declarations, but it'll come to my mind.
Affirmations.
Affirmations. Thank you. See, just like what just happened. What just happened? The synapses will fire. So that shows you how connected we are because we said it at the same time, which means that for a split second, we use the exact same brain or the exact same source. So it's like, it's a powerful thing. And these are the types of things that we ought to be aware of because sometimes we're not aware that like
Mm.
God is showing us exactly what needs to happen inside of our life. And these small cues like that is telling us a story that could be our future, or maybe is our past, or maybe is our present, or it's maybe all three at one time. You have to go back a few episodes if you want to understand what I mean by that and what we've discussed on time, right? So I appreciate that. And I realized that I didn't dive deep into what I was referring to. And so I'm not going to because I spent 5 minutes on that and it was enough for me.
Mm.
If it's not enough for you, then you can do like this. You can DM me or you can
Okay.
ask and you can start that engagement with me and
That's
I'd be
crazy.
happy to. But if you don't want to, then I can leave it where it is because it wouldn't matter anyway.
This is dope, man. I love this conversation, man. Man, and what an awesome conversation.
Yeah.
I, I'm overwhelmingly grateful. All right, it's you know what's interesting. Last week we started off, and it was funny because right prior to the show, we're like, what did we talk about last week? And I was like, after every show, I upload our transcripts. Not probably at most shows. Sometimes it's like a Saturday. I have like a whole 2 hours of me like diving into the show with Chat GPT or something because you're able to pull up the transcripts and we'll have these conversations for me to get a lot deeper into it. Like that type of stuff is like fascinating to me. A lot of the stuff you mentioned, you said what God puts, like the Most High just puts us in this presence of, um, it's like being connected. Like we connected into the master frame, the main frame. Like it is being connected, and then the synchronicity happens, right? Affirmations at the same time, right? Because he said it, and I started to say, man, I don't know, I don't even use that word anymore. You know what I mean? Like I don't even use those words anymore. But it was like, yeah, affirmations at the same time. So just being connected to the mainframe. Here's a trick for a lot of people is not even a trick. I'm gonna tell you what's happening from my perspective is that these things are happening all of the time, unbeknownst to you. Especially with the timing that you're spending with people. I mean, you all start to form this way of being, and it, you get a chance to look at I think it's serving you ultimately, but how do you feel, how are you relating to it? I think it all serves us. I could sit with someone who's out of their mind, and we can have this conversation about out of the mind stuff, and I can find enjoyment in that. But how is it serving you on a day-to-day, everyday basis? Because maybe today is cool, and we can have these conversations, and that we can dive deep into this thought or whatever. But on the as far as like what you're cultivating in life, or kind of like where you kind of see a vision of yourself of what it is that how you are, and you just want to be that kind of way. Like for me, enjoyment. I told everyone in December, like things is gonna be about enjoyment this year. Like that's how I'm measuring it, and that's exactly like what it is. So now the cultivation is like this enjoyment and finding enjoyment. I was I would I it was so funny. I was washing dishes the other day and enjoying it by like being present with it. Like, man, okay, and now I'm just looking at every little speck and spot. And before I thought, I was like, oh, whoa, this is, I'm starting to cultivate this way of doing it. Now I don't want to do dishes all the time. I just happened I needed the dishes the dishes were being done, and then the awareness was like, okay, so how can you enjoy doing this at the same time? And it's almost, ever seen someone who like enjoys washing their car? Like you get out there, I think even though we have the advent of like these new car washes where we get a chance, you go through the car wash or whatever, but I still find enjoyment of like checking on my car. Like I want to see, oh, this is a new dent. Like, oh, the paint chipped here. Oh, this is getting this handle is getting kind of wobbly because most of us like we have the same patterns and habits, right? But now like, oh man, this might need to be, so it's like even a form of maintenance. I have a thing of going throughout my house because I call it the west. What's this? The east wing. That's where the kids are. That's what I call it. So it's like the east wing, and I have to go check on the east wing from time to time because I can get into a habit of not going on the east wing, and then then I'm like, whoa, when did this happen? And then me and Elijah have a conversation, or now you got Paul, like, okay, what did you do here? Like, what's going on this east end? Same way we do that, the same way we can have these conversations with our significant others, the same way we can have our conversation with our children. Don't, especially with the kids. Good, how you doing? Good. Now, what is good? Like when they say good now, I say good at the same time. How you doing? Well, how was school? Good. Well, what's so good about it? Paul is even there. Hey, Paul, how you feeling today? Good, good. What's so good about it? What's good? Why not great? Just you're really just messing with them, but just checking in. Just checking in and being in the presence of mind. So you can do it. You don't necessarily have to do it with Joel, but the brother did just give an invite. DM him. Have a go check it. Go to the lab. Go check him out. Like go figure it out. This is an opportunity. Not to, the brother's making himself useful. Use him. Why not? Right? Man, awesome conversation today, brother. Man, enjoy it each and every time. Each and every time. Guys, this is Community Beacon. I really like this setup. This is weird.
Me too. Something better than the last one.
This Riverside is dope, man. So
Yeah. I got to get in there so that I can access it a little bit better.
All right. Is our work finished? Is there any more work to do? Love you guys, man. We'll see you next week.
Is there any more work to do?
Is there any more work to do? All right. Peace, y'all. Love you.